This restorative adventure today is going to include some nice respiratory expansiveness. So to set that up, you're going to need a couple of blankets or towels that are going to be a little higher than your bolster. Right, so this is a tad bit up from my bolster height because we're going to let the ribs go across versus lengthwise. So I want you to sit in front of your bolster. Do have blocks and place them under the thighs. Okay, so the knees splay out, but they also help, the blocks help adjust the femur bone right back in towards the hip where it belongs. And then take a belt and buckle up so you have a loop and place it overhead around your hips and reach the belt under the feet so the soles of the feet are together. I call this foot prayer. And then as I move the buckle up near my hip so it's easy to get out of it if I need to, I'm going to slide my belt so it's around a little bit lower than the eyebrows of the buttocks. You kind of feel it almost as if you could just about sit on it. So it's pretty far down to hold the sacrum basin. It is below the sacrum. Okay. So I snug it up so it's comfortable and it feels compact in my legs. So kind of find the sacrum and foot compacting feeling with the belt. And as you lower back, okay, you get to move your knees up, right? Move them up a little to get those blocks under the thickest part of the thighs. And then take a sandbag, lower your head back to your blanket, okay? Then sand across the ribs. My belief is the sand will help you with this back sensitivity, right? I know the sand is on the ribs, but what I found without the sand, I felt a little more compression. So I want you to work towards that expansiveness in the ribs. Take it out of being a rib cage. Like, okay, I know they're in a cage, but it is a cage that holds all those ribs into that kind of breath celebration they help us with, right? The costals. But as you guide your arms to opening, now take the time to fuss a bit. Like I'm going to move my tailbone a little bit under. I'm going to kind of wag my tail a tiny bit until I feel kind of this basin of support, right? I've got my knees poking out. I've got the belt holding from my base to my center of gravity, my pelvis. And if it ever feels like, oh, this is a little too much, you could first try it without sand. And second, you would make the blanket under your head a little higher. You just fold it up a little bit higher. So I like to have some height here because of that sensitivity in my back muscles on this one. So we're trying to lay out an opportunity to feel that source of support, our breath, and feeling that it's embodied, right? Each of them. So using that embodiment, right, of breathing expansiveness to kind of pour it into the body through the nose and feel that expansiveness across the ribs. And of course, you can go minus the sand. If it feels like I want to try it without the sand, and if it feels better, then it is better. Right? Sand is an opportunity to use it as a weight training for your breathing muscles and to help you with traction and grounding and centering. But it's not every pose. It doesn't feel great for everybody. Some days more than others. So feeling as you settle the face back, the brain resting back on the blankets. Relax the throat. And feel the spine and this opportunity to expand. And simply breathing slow. Not deep necessarily, but slow currents of breath to start to calm the nervous system. And really to set the body up for repair and restoring and regenerating. So that's another idea with the breath wave. And the shapes are quite are somewhat challenging in this first part, you know. So they're big shapes, big asks for the body to kind of pour out the circulation in a different way than our habits right before class, sitting, standing, doing chores. Just let the body really receive and feel this whole practice. You know, tracing the outline of sensation in the hips. It might feel somewhat, you know, dull or not so big of a representation here in the hip as much as the ribs, but the hip area is kind of your foundation, and which is going to help us with the flow back towards the heart in a few moments. So take a couple more rounds of breath slowly, no expectation on the length, just experience the bones and the structure opening up. Okay, now if you have sand on the core, slide it aside. And then you're going to unbuckle, and we're going to move our feet just about hips distance apart, knees pointing up. And I would encourage you to move your blocks kind of to the side of the bolster, right on the short ends. Have your sandbag. I would just kind of put it maybe up on top of one of those blocks so that you have support for the sand. It needs support just like you. Okay, and then move one of your blankets back so you're down to one, and you're just going to keep sliding back. Okay, now here's what I'm going to encourage you to do is push the bolster down under the back of the pelvis and then bend the knees so that it's just kind of a mini inversion. Go slow, okay? Make sure the blanket is supporting your head. Okay, go slow. Mini inversion first, which means I can try to feel the outline of my tailbone right at the edge of the bolster. Okay, and I'm going to scoot it down until I feel like my ribs are still opening. Right? I don't change that. It's just not quite as deep of an arch in my lower back. Okay, now take a belt. And let's bring the belt. So since you're in kind of the mini inversion, you're getting there. You're going to take your belt. Hopefully it's not stuck to your bolster like mine. All right. And then place it under your feet and extend the legs straight up. Okay. If something challenging is going to happen, it's going to be to me. And buckle up. Watch your fingers when you buckle up. Don't put your fingers into that buckle. All right. And let's go into first things, just the legs together like a uni leg. Okay. Pull. Okay. And feeling what experience is when the legs kind of lean into the feet kind of push into the belt. Okay. Right. You have a kind of pile up of legs here lifted up onto the bolster. So as we start to move our way into brain float in a few moments, we're going to kind of work. We've started with our hips, kind of inner hip working, and then we're going to work in towards the top of the thighs and the back. So as you lower down that left leg, extending, just let it kind of drop. You know, kind of move your ribs a little side to side like a typewriter, right? You're kind of shifting them a little side to side. And then grab a sandbag and place it on the top of that left thigh. And this practice is going to have, you know, a kind of a high level of, you know, some of us might consider it light strength work, right? For a little bit for the arms, the core, the legs today. So it's nice to kind of stretch them out, okay, before we get there. So the left leg kind of drains down. You are deciding if you want your bolster higher on the back or lower. Okay, what I find is I definitely don't want it too low, then it tends to aggravate my back. So I have it pretty high up, okay, in my back area. Now, as you're holding on, You can make this into a brain float. You can make that loop and then place the belt to the center of the back of your head. You might decide you want to make the loop a little bit bigger than you're used to and let your head lower down to touch the blankets. I kind of like traction like that. It's not really yanking my head to create a like a flexi straw. I think of those straws when I do this one, how my neck is moving. So I want to feel kind of my head lower down, and that stretches my right hamstring. It's kind of convenient. Okay. So with the sandbag on the top of that left thigh, you might have the sand pretty high on the front of the hip, so you can do a little bit of hip loading. And then with the arms open, shoulders might shrug up and down towards the neck. And then as they stretch back down, relax your hands and just steady the breath. So my right leg is up, the belt's under my foot, it's all the way in a loop around the back of my head to the center of the back of the skull and a little bit up for me. And the left leg just drains down. And just feeling the outline. And then if there's something you want to add to it, right? If you decide you want to hold the back of that leg for any reason, you want to push the thigh a little bit away, I would recommend simplicity, arms opening. And then feeling how the body kind of moves into the shape that serves the legs, the hips. Each of these poses kind of serve us. Kind of, I guess it's more like servicing, right? Parts of the body, servicing circulation towards the heart and the lungs. Let's take a few more breaths here, slow. Right, the throat might feel affected on this because of this kind of lock, right? This, what we call Jalandhara Bandha, kind of this little bit of squeezing at the throat. To really focus on breathing through your nose. Let the throat tissues relax. Okay, now, as we shift sides, all up to you. If you decide you want to do a leg float in between the two sides, go for it, which means both feet up in the belt, legs go a little out. We will do that after both brain floats. I guess we only have one brain, two legs opposite, right? You're like, both brain floats. Okay, so if you decide you want to have the legs out without the belt under your head to go in between, I want to keep it kind of just one side at a time, just to find that focus at the lower back and the back of the hip and the pelvis gently stretching from one side to the next. So we now go to side two, unless you're doing something in between. Have a sandbag on the top of the right thigh, and as your head leans back, it's the same top of the body that's feeling this, so it might feel like a continuation. However, there's a high probability that your head might be a little higher because the second hamstring could be tighter, or it could be easier to go down to the blanket. So, kind of feel, this side I can kind of feel a little bit of nerve sensation, tiny bit of tingling, okay, towards SI. So this is a side I've had some SI stuff on for a bit. So it's getting better, and I might use this position and to find a way to get more ease. I'm not going to try to push the edge, so I might loosen the belt up, but to be honest, I think it's better to have it a little shorter to kind of secure into this joint, right? You want everything to be kind of supported, circulation benefit, a little bit of compression that I can feel with my foot in the belt, and that hold of the belt to the back of my head. So the right leg relaxes down. Feel that stretch through the back body. And give yourself freedom to do a little micro bend of your left leg. You kind of feel when you're upside down with the leg, it is a different way to be with your leg, even if you've been with this one for a long time. Just kind of orient, feeling how the foot maybe moves. Is it just simply sensations that are different than standing on your foot? And it's definitely some well practiced intention here to reverse the effects of gravity on the heart. So even if the pose is just for the heart, just noticing as you're breathing, slowing down. Okay, now with that, leaning back into your belt idea, your head leaning back. Now I'm going to encourage you just to move the sand off the thigh. Okay. Actually, let's see. Our sand should go to the left side where we're going eventually. You don't want to put it on one side and have to drag it over to the other later. Okay, so I'm going to bring both feet up and then take the belt off my back of my head. And it's like, oh, that's kind of comfy. Okay, and even kind of feel that you've had some pulling at the neck, so you might nod your head a little side to side, and then let your feet kind of step out. Even though I know this doesn't feel like stepping in my feet, but I know your feet don't know the difference. They're just up in the air. Okay, so if you ask them, they're just moving out again. So if the legs stretch out, you get to decide how far out it goes. Like maybe you don't go so far. You just have them in this inversion. So I'm going to have it, I don't have a really big loop on this one. It's not that big. I'm going to go with this. This seems like the right statement into the upper side band. This is the area we do tend to work with the ball and roll. So I want you to kind of feel just this perspective of the legs moving and then stopping, right? They don't keep moving. It's like they could, but your arms are relaxing open, goalpost or otherwise. You could have them down lower. You could have them resting up on the bolster because those wrists can always use a break. They're not pulling, pushing, tightening the wrists, which also acts to tighten our shoulders. So take a few moments here. Breathing. Okay, now as you bend through the legs, reach for the belt, pull the feet together, or you just pull the belt, the feet come together. And let's lower the left leg down and let's cross the right leg over to the left, holding onto the strap with your left hand. And try to get that right leg to go a little over and then downstream, okay? So it is going to kind of promote that sensation from the side of the leg up into the torso. You're somewhat limited because you're on this bolster, right? So if you feel like, oh, I can't quite get as much, mobility here, bend the left leg a little bit. Just even slide the foot up on the floor so that you can feel how that changes the mobility in the right hip. Okay, just let your left hand hold the strap and kind of pull, so you have resistance. Feel if you need to give yourself a little slack with the leg, with that reaching over to the left with the right leg. Breathing. Okay, now bend the knee, bring the right foot to the left knee, and let's take figure 4, hands behind the left thigh. So no belt, no strap under the foot. So hug the legs in, and my plan was to do this one on the ball today, but I'm just kind of thinking through the outline as we're going. Yeah, so I think this is a good way to go with it. So it's a little more compact with just the bolsters gives you a little more support than the ball. It's pretty much a little bit bigger than the ball to lie on. So when I'm squeezing the legs in, I think this is a little advanced for flexibility to even get the legs in towards the chest. So if it's difficult, you could have your belt behind the left thigh. You could just reach it behind the left thigh and pull. If it hurts your shoulder to reach this far in with your hands, get your belt behind the leg and let your elbows have a little bit more lax so there's less pressure in your shoulders. It's okay to do that. Okay, take a moment longer here to feel that circulation right into that right hip. Okay, and then a little leg tantrum is good. So kick the legs up, shake them out, get that strap, and then lower the right foot, scoop up the left foot in the strap, and cross the left leg over to the right. Right, it's amazing how fast that sensation evaporates after you get out of the pose, that last side. But it all, the body keeps the score. It'll have some muscle memory. Right, we don't want to hold the shape for a long, long time till we're feeling that when we get out, it doesn't just resolve itself. So feel as the leg crosses over and down. Second side, there might be other sensations in ribs, in shoulder, in breathing. Your work is to find some balance, right? Finding where the right and left side do comparison just on you, right? When you're in practice, that's enough, isn't it? Just on yourself when you're in the poses. Okay, and you're working towards, feeling where the range of motion ends and respect that. Like, I don't need to push this anymore. I just try to let gravity be my therapist right now. Just holding onto the strap, the leg crosses, and that's what I got. Okay, now we're going to do half of the leg to stretch the hip now. So as you bend the left knee, pull on the strap to bring your leg in, slide the right foot in on the floor, bring the left foot to cross to the right knee. And then this is also considered reclining pigeon pose, right? It's the same pose, but on your back. It's the same pose. Okay, and it might even be considered a little more valuable in this one because of the protection on the knee. I'm not actually pushing my knee on the floor, not twisting it, pushing it onto the ground and turning. Right, and my back gets a nice stretch. Okay, but they're both for some people we like them both, but this one is definitely a little more knee friendly. So if you want to make friends with your knee, this is the one I'd recommend. Okay, the left foot mine is a little passive. I like the idea of flex. Flexion is protection for the knee on the left foot. So I like the idea of flexing the left foot, thus protecting my left knee. Right? Then it doesn't turn the knee too far on the side. You might not notice the difference if your foot is neutral or flexed. So as we're reaching the back of the right thigh, take a few more moments. Okay, we're going to actually keep the left leg kind of in this blend of movement when we move off the bolster in a few moments. Okay. I guess we're never going to get off of the bolster today. We'll always have it nearby. Okay, so we won't be sitting on it like this. So when you come out of this one, use your blocks, your little bumpers here. Okay, so find a ball. Okay, if you just don't have one, you don't have to use one, but it's a nice thing to have center of the knees and do a little mild squeezing of the ball, arms open, and just let the knees go side to side. And you're not going to go any any farther than you're not going to go further than this block on the ground. So don't try to go lower than the block. Use them. You know what? You can have them higher. So you can turn them up or turn them down to any height you want, but as the knees go side to side or the hips are flowing, start to feel some flow in the core, this corridor. The corridor towards the rib cage. Shouldn't say that word cage, but it comes out. The rib barrel, the rib corral, the rib cage. Okay, now as you're going side to side, the cylinder, it's a good one. Okay, let's keep going with this for a few more moments. It actually feels really good for my back right now. So if you're feeling like I gotta get out of this now, I don't like it, come out of it, that's fine. But my suggestion to shift out of this one is to move the ball. We're going to use it though at the ribs. Okay. So you're going to just carefully roll to the left side. If you can't go left, you can go right. And you're going to place the ball on the bolster and then just glide across the ribs. And I have to admit, sometimes this feels better this feels better than other times. I have to say, I mean, sometimes I'll think I want to do rib side band or back. So I'm going across the back. Okay. Now we're all different lengths. I'm super short. So this might not work the same for you if you have a longer torso. So this way we're going to have a little option. So we're going to roll to our left. This is for everybody to try. And we'll have the legs like we did moments ago. Remember we had the leg like this? We're not going to have the foot on the knee, but we're going to keep that direction with the hip joint. So come into the left side towards the bolster. Some people call this deer pose. I call it side sage that we're getting into. And you're going to have the ball right at the ribs. And you're going to lean in so your arm is touching the floor. Your elbow is on the floor. Okay, so I'm going to kind of set up anyway because I like to keep the ball on my ribs for kind of texturizing the ribs. Rib texture changes with the ball. So I'm going to just start organizing my props while I'm pushing on the ball. Take a block so it's on top of the end of your blankets. You've got your blankets lengthwise. And your elbow is down, and then you're just going to roll into that left side of the rib cage. Now, if your knee doesn't like this, which is possible, you can have your legs stacked. I get a better range of motion with my legs stacked. I definitely feel like this is better, just a little bit, like it's kind of maybe just an inch more movement. It's not a whole lot, but it's improved. Okay. Okay, now take a few more moments on this one. Remember, you have your arm, the elbow is on the floor, and the ball is not up in the armpit, although I have taught this with the ball in the armpit for breath work, but that didn't take off too well with groups. I don't know. People didn't like armpit breathing. So too many funny faces came out of that one, which probably would be healthy to have funny faces. Okay, now when we come out of this shape, we're going to go into side sage all out. Okay, so you've done this before. Those of you with the round bolster, get it. Okay, get that round bolster, put it in the middle. Okay, those of you without a round bolster, so what? We're going to have a good pose anyway. Okay, so ball goes under the right knee. Sandbag, optional, to the right hip. I would say, I mean, we're all getting older, so none of us are getting younger in our bones. I would say try to get that sand on the bone. Use it as weight bearing. Yes, if you like it on the ribs because of the breathing structure, they're still going to stretch. But I recommend put it on the hip bone. Okay? So it's still going to help you stretch. Okay, if you prefer to have the sand higher, that is up to you. Okay, so hand reaches overhead onto the block. And as you're settling in, you get to decide, you know, if the blanket under your head if it's too low, if the support under your head's too low, you can always make it a little higher. You could just fold the blanket up just so it's comfortable. It doesn't matter how it looks. It's how does it feel. Okay, so you want to have just that right on, just like when you're trying to rest and you're arranging the pillow, just the right height in this corner of your neck. Let it be no different. So when you're reaching, you're going to let the rib cage stretch lengthwise. You kind of mentally, you might consider thinking of the ribs like a spine, like vertebral column, in this shape, just feeling that the column here, the side, the arm. Let's say my arm doesn't feel good overhead, then you can move it, and you can also let it rest down on the bolster or on your hip. This is perfect, right? I would say if your body has some discomfort or pain, it's telling you something. It's definitely is trying to talk to you and give you some information. And if you're able to, get out, right? Shift so it doesn't hurt. Okay to do that. So feel that length as this supports my back muscles. Side stretches are so good for your back. We take a few more breaths here. Okay, now when we come out of this shape, moments ahead here, I'm already preparing for that moment. I'm going to work with my arms in balance. I don't want to say we're balancing our arms, but it kind of is balance, right? A lot of this work is balancing parts. So let the sand shift off, and then you're going to turn and take the ball aside and place your hands on blocks. Now, if your knees don't tolerate this, no worries. You can put a blanket under them. Some of you will say, well, that's still not enough and you need your knees off the floor. Okay. What you could do, I'm just going to give this one a try, and I didn't rehearse this one. Okay, so you're first stretching into up dog. So you're going to stretch the legs. I'm sliding my thighs a little bit more on the bolster to protect my knee. I'm just kind of giving this a go to see if this is more knee comfort. So I kind of slide up, you see, so my knees are not on the floor. Okay. I love this kind of stuff because the quads get a nice stretch. Okay, now you might be like tired after 20 seconds in your back muscles. So, of course, we're trying to strengthen the muscles on the spine. They're not going to get stronger just by another day in them. If they require work, so shoot, got to work on. So if you need to come down out of this one, you come down. If your back is telling you otherwise, let's go out of it. I would say come down by doing this, okay? So turn the blocks a little higher, okay? Bring your elbows down, of course. Wrist happy, a little bit more wrist happy, still a nice arch to the back. Okay, so we're gonna work our way towards a little bit of strength into the shoulders. Now, if it's too much, again, you can come out of it. We're gonna do 2 different sets of stuff on hands, leg work, We're going to do 2 different sets far apart in the class for this work. So you'll have a second round of it in a little while. Now, you're going to place the hands on the blocks at the low setting, so that means they don't quiver and you don't fall off of them. Okay, toes under, lift up the legs. Okay, try to go into more of a plank position here. And just take a moment here. Feel the hands pressing the floor away, or your blocks away, you could say. And that lower abdominal zone, right? Trying to lengthen back. Come back down on the bolster with the thighs, right? Pressing on the bolster, arch the spine, chest lifts up. Breathe. I kind of like doing this in intervals. We're doing a little interval training. Okay. Now, you get to decide. Do you want to come back to table pose and then come back to plank? Or do you want to just let the toes hook under here and then visualize tailbone moving back? So I'm going to lift up my thighs off and then move my tailbone back and press. Now, the other variation would be my knees on the ground, okay, and try to get a little bit of energy here and then lift up. But that's, to me, a little more energy. Okay. I don't mind thighs on, and then I just push my heels back. Okay, so taking, about another 10 minutes here. How about 10 seconds? We'll do that. Okay, now feel as your knees bend and lower down for a moment, toes under, slide the blocks back or go minus the blocks. I'm short, so this always makes me feel longer this way. And then when I lift the knees up into downward dog, the blocks help so much with the length. They're very, even if you're already tall, who doesn't want to feel longer in the back, no matter what? And or in the center, the rib cage, the abdominals. Feel the hands press the floor away. Breathe. Okay, keep that length, 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 length. We're banking on length. Okay, walk the feet towards the bolster and the hands back to the bolster. All right. And then feel the ribs move forward, arching. Okay, I would let the hands kind of make a little tent, okay, because no one wants their wrists to get pressure on them. So this is a great one if you can actually get your blocks now. You kind of be careful not to fall over here. But you can put your blocks on your bolster and kind of make a little tent. I call this spider the hands, but some people call it make a tent. And then as you press down through your finger pads, you're creating the arch. Now, this is important for those of us that are pretty flexible, that like we could go all the way to the floor, that we're creating the strength in our ribs. So now if you're pushing your hips back and creating the deepest arch, I want you to taper that and stretch the tailbone back. You know when you do plank pose and you're not trying to fling your tail up or down, you have something in the middle. So I want you just to feel now as you bend the knees, you got to bend them a little bit. We're going to stretch the right arm forward, keep the knees bending, and then the left arm forward. You only have two, okay? Now stretch the hands back. It's nice to work on the shoulders and the upper body without pushing onto the hands, I think. Interlace your fingers. This isn't going to work for everyone, I know. So if you interlace, you stretch your arms back and you go overhead. If you stopped doing this in your yoga practice years ago and you always use a belt, just get a belt. I've started using the belt on this one for quite some time because I notice, even though in many of the schools, you're not using a lot of props, just if you look at the shoulders and the balance in the chest, and actually even all the way into the wrists, it's just so much more beneficial here to use the strap to hold and let my arms go overhead. So I hold the strap with the palms forward. I only say this because I did that incorrectly for so long until someone pointed it out and noticed that I wasn't right. Okay, so when you're stretching the chest open, that's your head nod side to side. Breathe. Notice the breath when you're upside down with your head below the heart. If your head doesn't go below the heart right now, it's going somewhere that direction, I'm sure. Even if you're a little bit higher and you're not all the way this way, it's okay. It's all okay. Okay. Now keep holding that belt. You're going to see half of me, but you're going to come on up, hold. So you're letting the belt pull you up to standing, chest open. Oh, that feels good. Whew, I want to stay with that. Okay, shoulders back, chest open. Breathe. And maybe kind of pause on that breath. You don't have to make the breath the whole fundamental base here. Just feel your feet pushing down. Feel the ribs stretching out. And then bend your knees and come back forward one last time. Okay? Trying to do some upper body awareness without putting weight on our hands. Okay? All right, drop your belt. Okay, and then maybe roll your shoulders, have a little arm tantrum, shake them out. Don't hit anything with them. Don't get too close to the blocks. And then we're going to toss our blocks to the other side of the bolster. Okay, although they kind of help you get down, actually, don't they? All right, now walk your feet back, come down to the knees again. Take one more plank. Sometimes this is kind of fun to do from coming all the way down after having that inversion. And then on the inhale and then exhale, shoot the crown of the head forward. I've always liked that skill. When you come down to the table, inhale and then exhale, crown of the head forward. It's a little easier if your feet are touching the wall because the wall helps you get there. So if you're working on some of these patterns for the shoulders, you might have your feet at the wall to do them. Okay? All right, now lower down to your knees. Whew, okay. Put a block on your blankets. Actually come down all the way to kneeling. All right. Okay, and then down to that right hip and get the ball to the ribs. I'm gonna have my knees together and elbow on the ground. Again, last time I kind of organized my props, I guess, while I was leaning into my ball. So let me do a few moments of that. Okay, block on the end of your blankets, a gap between the bolster and the blankets, and then turn. Okay, now feeling, I mean, your head might feel like your neck is getting a little tense here to do this just because of the weight of it and you're twisting. So you could always put your hand on the back of your head if that helps you. But really rely again on the arm, like we just did some work with the arms. So now kind of notice, do they feel a little bit, I don't know, inspired? Circulation difference could be really small. But we'll take little small improvements. Okay, now arm is opening, turning. Okay, now I kind of like this. Okay, now take the ball under the left knee and then lean into the bolster, sand on the left hip. Okay, now get sand support on that left hip. And as you're leaning in, left arm extends overhead. Okay, so feeling where there's that reach and, you know, feel that the ribs lengthen, but also the position of the knee or just the leg parts. That kind of helps this mid-body stretch. So you might play around with that. Like if you don't like the knee on the ball or the leg stretching back, you can have the legs stacked. Okay, that's okay. The legs though will help the stretch in the core. So let's say I decide I don't want my leg this way. I want my leg stacked on the other leg and kind of bring my knees right up to the bolster side and I can stretch my torso. I really love how this stretches my back. It just feels a little better than this version. Okay, so you can always try, you know, and this is a great opportunity to find what feels, what you know, feel the feels, right? So you can take the outline of what's presented as the option one. Hopefully you get a couple options, but I don't always give a couple with everything. But you know, this one you might try with the legs together and just, you know, just feel, does that feel better in my back? Well, if it does, you take it. Okay. How many opportunities today will you have that, right? To do something that's going to feel good for your back, period. Okay, so giving yourself the opportunity to let the weight of your head relax into the blanket. Arm does not have to be overhead. It could be moving. You know, the hand could be down on the bolster, on the hip. Okay, let your body get that feeling of reaching, especially in the core. Use your bolster. Now, I didn't remind you, if you had the round one, you probably want to use it for this, although maybe you kept it there, but it can be helpful to have the round bolster. You know, take the last few moments here. Okay, now when we come along from this side reach, okay, let's work our way into a little bit of tummy time. Okay, so we're gonna move the sand back. Let's have our sandbag. Well, I don't know if you can drag it up onto your back. Let's try because it's so soothing on the back. So let's turn our bolster lengthwise right under. Oh, these blankets. I want to use one under my knees just for comfort. Why not? It's okay to be comfortable. I did say lengthwise, I know. All right, so first things first. What we're going to have is the sand is going to be on the back. Okay, so when you do prone core work, right? The sand generally, it's taught oftentimes, and just you don't need to do this standing, but it's lengthwise from, it's easier for me to show you this direction. Lengthwise from lower back to tailbone. And then there was a whole 10 years where people taught it this way. The latest is people at trainings teach it lengthwise. Everyone's different how they feel about it. So I think you have to be the decider, number one. It's just going to be all about your decision and how it feels. So crawl on down. Okay, have the legs with some separation so that the bolster is touching my thighs, right? It's here, okay? You don't have to have it this far down. It's up to you, okay? So I think more bolster support probably feels better for your back eventually, but hold off on the sand. Hold on for a second. So, we're kind of sand happy. So elbows down in more of a sphinx pose. And feeling now the breath, well, I guess it's not your breath contact because you can't see your breath, but you can feel it moving the ribs. So when my elbows are straight down under my shoulders or so, I think there, I'm just working on that length from my navel towards my throat and my chin moving a little bit forwards. Okay, maybe close your eyes. Just feeling. Okay, now when you lower down, you put the sand on the back. I want you to try to still keep some of this length. You don't have to come up, but I want you to still keep some of this length from navel towards the sternum. I know it's not going to be up to the throat because you're not going to lift your head up on this one. But take it one moment at one support at a time. So get your sandbag, okay, drag it up onto your back, okay. And as you have it on the back, you might find, okay, I'm going to put the sand across my back of my pelvis, tailbone area, or I'm going to put it from lengthwise. Okay, it's going to feel so awkward no matter what you do, especially lengthwise. But you might have to put it kind of on your back, so that feels. Yeah, I think that feels better. I think the most recent decision is that that's better for me, but not for you. It could be across. Could be across. So have your blanket folded enough so that your forehead is on left enough height that you're not like all the way here. Okay, so think of that flexi straw, right? You want a little bit of support. Okay, arms are forwards. They're out to the side. So those of us that are kind of chesty, this is going to be a challenging one. You might have to have your elbows way out to the sides. Okay, this one way overhead might not work for everybody, but it could be helpful for your shoulders. So you know best. Owner of body knows best. All right, so let the spine and let the glutes relax. So if your rear is gripping up, it's a great natural thing to do in this one. They're gonna grip up to protect your back. They're great back protectors, the glutes. Isn't it nice? They fire up. So let the legs have enough separation. You can relax the glutes, okay, the pelvic floor, and arms no more. Forehead down, and just take about a minute here to just breathe. Let's time this one for about a minute. Okay, so settle in. It's about 12 to 15 breaths is about a minute. Okay, now. Feels good to have that sand on the back, doesn't it? Okay, so when we start to come up to do a little bit of low crest pose, which is baby back bends, great back strengtheners, you might decide to just do it this way. You might decide, I don't want to take the sand off. That's up to you. If you decide I'm going to leave my sand on because I like it, I'm just going to lift my head, and that's your tummy time. That's okay. That's your strengthening time. Could be sand stays on. Okay. Again, it's weight bearing. It's good. It's a good thing to do. Some of us are going to want a little more resistance training. So that would mean, to be honest, to get rid of the sand because you don't want to have to try to get your head higher than that, with the sand. This is safe. Just to have my elbows a little wide, lift up. What is safe is if you can breathe wide in the back and you can feel it kind of fill up your back. If it tends to be you're kind of panting, you can't quite breathe, this sandbag's too much, right? So I'm going to take the sand off as much as I'd like to leave it on. And I'm going to slide my hands back and not push myself up. I'm just going to reach my arms back. I'm not pushing into my hands. I'm pressing into the tops of the feet and strengthening into the back. So shoulders back, breathe. Okay, you might squeeze the glutes a little bit because that's what they do to protect your back. Okay, now lower down. If you still have that sand on, great. If not, don't add it again. Bring your elbows wide, let your forehead relax on the blanket. Relax the rear. The glutes rest. Okay, now slide the hands under the shoulders. Elbows might swing out, but you're going to bring them in. And then you're going to tuck your chin to your chest. Press down into the fingers out wide, palms wide, and then come back to table. Okay, now feel the hands under you. Okay, feel in this direction. And then we're going to turn our bolster across the mat. Okay, do a little stretch of the arms here. Don't overdo it. Don't over time. Just reach the arms, stretching in the front of the arms. Well, the armpit area is what I mean. And a little bit up into the shoulder gets a little heat. Okay, now slide the bolster in. You don't necessarily have to, but you're going to turn around so you're sitting on it. And you're going to place the blanket. I'd say make a roll. Place it under your knees. Maybe this isn't high enough, actually. Yeah, I guess that's just right. And then a block under each hand behind you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn my hands, fingers back like that. My hands on the blocks. And my shoulders back. I'm going to move my blocks at whatever's comfortable for me. I don't care. They don't have to be straight back. They're going to be opening my chest. So my knees are supported. I'm not hyperextending, but I'm lengthening. And I'm going to move my blocks back however I please so I can keep my hands gently pressing and shoulders back. So just give it a few moments here. Feel the chest moving outwards. Okay, it's a pretty vulnerable position, I think, for most of us. We do a lot of pelvis, hips, and yoga, but this shoulder chest stuff is definitely something we can add. Okay. All right, so you got your seat on the bolster. Check. Okay. Take the left leg in center. I guess you don't have to really move it much. Right leg crosses over left, so the right knee points up. Okay? Now, if this doesn't feel good on your knee, you need to take care of things, right? If you feel like my left knee doesn't like this, you can slide the blanket out and put a ball under it. Some people prefer the ball over the blanket. Okay? So if it doesn't like it, try the ball. Now bring the left arm across to the right leg, hook the left arm to the side of the right leg or the knee. So mine is kind of just right on the ligament there on the side of the knee, my arm. But you definitely could hug the knee with your left hand or bring the arm a little higher on the side of the leg and try to find that location of your twist. It's your back to touch around. It's going to be the ribs that are turning. This lower area is all supported by the bolster, helping you lift and have a natural curve here. Right, the tailbone. And then this is thick, plump vertebrae here. These guys should stay pretty sturdy as we age. But keep them powerful, keep them wide. Turn to the right and feel a little work in the shoulder. Come back center, right leg straight, left leg crosses over. This is good little simple science. Left arm back. Where's my block? And then hook the right elbow to the left leg and turn. Yeah, I feel a slight difference on one side to the next, and I can't quite calculate where the difference is, but it's in my upper ribs, it's in my shoulder. So I know I have one rib that's just a little bit compressed on one side. So what I could do is, and part of it is just being in practice and feeling and organizing the body. So, ignorance is bliss probably, but this is a good one to try to get your head to turn, but not to let your chin move down. So you're just turning your head, you're trying to open the chest, breathe. Yeah, these are the advanced poses, right? The seated field poses are the advanced. Take the last few moments here. We can do it. And keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. The pose begins when you want to get out. Yeah, those feel pretty good after the arm stuff. I'm feeling like I kind of like these. Sequencing is fun. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and lower all the way to our back. And what I want you to have is, we don't do a lot of forward folds in this class. If you haven't noticed, as we get older, that's not a great thing for our spine to round. So we're trying to create the activity level in the back to regenerate, okay? We may have done stuff like that for flexibility and appearances, but we're going to focus on the regeneration here. So come on down, push your bolster down to the base, put your feet on top, and then as you lower back, watch out for things, because you might have a block in your way. You might have a blanket, which is nice to have. Okay, so I'm going to put my head down, so I don't have to hold my neck up here. I don't have to hold my neck, my head. Okay, I'm going to go with just a sliver of a blanket. This is probably a little more than a sliver, but just a little padding from my occiput up. Right, so my blanket is from here up. It's not under my neck, okay? Because I need to work on less rounding in my cervical vertebrae. Probably we all do. Okay, I'll admit it. So take a ball. Let's put it on our sacrum for right now because it feels good. So lift the hips up and put the ball at your sacrum, right at the base of the spine, and just let your hips move side to side. So you're going to do a little bit of shearing of the sacrum. Okay, so kind of feel, as you feel that texture, you might not even really feel the texture of the ball because you probably have pants on and a shirt and all that. So that's fine. I actually like to have that little bit of padding. If you had the choice, I guess you have the choice to have the ball right against you, but I like the little bit of padding of the pant. You might be surprised if you change and have something a little bit thicker. You might feel some of the stuff is a little better with the ball. Yeah, I'd be surprised. Give it a try sometimes. This is the season. Get on something a little thicker. Okay, so really swipe across, like trying to get to the glutes now. So the hips go a little bit further across. Okay. All right, now we're going to just press into the feet, lift the hips up, take the ball out, lower down the spine, place the ball between the knees, and we're going to do some drawbridges. So first things first, notice how your feet, your footing and the pressure of your feet on the bolster has a little elevation clearly of your feet and your legs. So when you get your hips to go up, it's going to track down higher up on your back. So let your arms reach overhead and then lower down the back muscles. I know it's your spine, but it's your back muscles. Your back muscles. Okay. Lift up your hips, stretch your arms overhead. And as you're feeling that kind of carefree motion, it's energy, right? This requires a good amount of input, right, from your muscles. So take the time to feel the movement of the hips together, like you've got a uni hip. And for those of us that have had, things like, I mean, we lived in our body while, so there's going to could be scar tissue, it could be from an accident, it could be from actually surgery, or it could be just that you always felt a little lopsided or you have scoliosis. There's another one. Okay, so, and we kind of get that, right? As we get older, you're going to have a little more natural scoliosis. Okay, so when you come on down the next time, bring your knees in and take the ball out and then add a block to the back of your pelvis to lift up. Have the block. I'm going to go low setting to start because I want to be just really gentle and just kind of see them because that's a wider foundation for my pelvis anyhow. It doesn't poke my, kind of the ridge of the hip. It's the back of the hip. So I just settle and I relax my glutes for a moment. Then I bring a leg up, just one leg. I know you have two, but have one leg at this moment. Okay, now feel if you can let the left leg stretch down. I mean, if you have your right leg up, left leg down, left leg up, right leg down. Okay, so you're in what we would call getting towards kind of a one-legged bridge pose. We are starting to get into some of our basic Iyengar things, but using our props. One-legged bridge pose. Okay. Right, now you would think bridge pose would probably be the bottom leg would be bending. I've seen it both directions. So when you switch, try to switch midair. So left leg goes up, right leg lowers down. Okay, work the mechanics of the hip. Hip 101, body mechanics shop here. So notice the leg rotation. Some of us, the knee turns in. I mean, your knee is kind of the prisoner of your foot and your hip. It's in the middle. And it's hard to move a hip without moving the knee, right? So when you do take your right leg up, now you got both legs up. Kind of feel when the feet are right side by side. They're not turning out specifically. They're not turning in. They're just side by side touching. Okay. Feel the hips kind of point out. But when you have both legs up, you have this nice starting to regenerate in the pelvis. Okay, now as you bend through the knees, it's nice to have two legs, right? For these reasons. So gratitude for two of them. Okay, now as we lower the feet down, you're going to lift up the hips. Don't worry if you're scooping your tail. Just lift the hips, take the block out. Grab a ball and place it to the right rear, right buttock, and lower on it, and you're kind of slanted down. But you're going to move your hips side to side. So just wag your tail. Okay. You're slanted because you got one hip you're working on, one glute zone. And so you're a little tilted in the pelvis. And you're like, I hope this all comes together by the end, what we're trying to do. It's a puzzle. All right, so feel the movement across. Hands could be down, they could be on your ribs. Okay, now feeling when you're crossing over the glute zone. That touch and movement. Touch and movement. Get the most out of it. Like you're trying to pop the ball. You're really using that ball. It's kind of like skin, right, that you're pushing on. You can feel the skin getting pulled, right? The collagen, it's all getting pulled across the surface muscle. It's kind of nice. And it should be like I can't tell you what it should be, but it's not going to be like a level 8 discomfort like a lacrosse ball. It's going to be 3, that you can feel that sensation of the skin drawing across. Okay. And digging into the knots on the glutes, right? Where you have some tension, some tightness, right where the joint is. That's where inflammation lives. That's where it goes, is in the joint. Okay. And then we lower down on the left buttock and then get the ball from the right side, grab a hold of it, and then move it over to the left side. Swing the knees a little to the right, careful. Kind of sneak the ball to the rear. So you don't have to grip your glute to get on the ball. You just bring your knees back up. And then you swing the hip to the right, and then you're wagging your tail. And then you're on side 2. Only 2 sides. Good news. By now, you might decide to make the blanket height a little bit higher when we're starting to go into twists. So you might go, okay, I'm going to fold this up a little bit, put it under just my head, not my neck. That might feel a little more supportive, but some of us might be okay with the blanket height really low. Okay, again, none of us need to round our neck more. Okay. Okay, now as we feel the hips go side to side, feel from one end of the glute to the other that you can sincerely massage. Okay, it doesn't need to be all the way to the tip of the edge. You want to feel kind of your own glide on your muscles. You're the one that's going to do this, right? You know, even if you have, get massage and body work, this is still pretty good work to do for your lymphatic system, right? So many of the lymph vessels, right, are right under the skin surface, like 75%, right? So that's a lot that you're trying to help drain more easily. Anything you get massaged, it's going to help that largest organ you have, the skin. Okay, now as we lower down to the right rear, okay, we've got sand somewhere nearby. We got a bolster under our feet. So move your bolster with your feet to the right side of your mat. And this one you'll know, because you'll remember this. You go, oh, the revolved cord pose, hip crossover. So left leg to the right on the bolster. And you could place your ball at the back of the pelvis. Not everybody likes this ball at the pelvis. Some people don't prefer it. So if you don't prefer it, the ball just out to the side. Okay. So you get to decide. Now, if the bolster isn't meeting your leg, you can do things like put a block, okay, and just stay with your pose. You could put a block under your kind of the short end of your bolster, right? Your leg crosses over, this brings the bolster up to your legs. You could do this. However, if it's too much height, you would put like a blanket. If you don't have many props that are easily attainable when you're on your back here, you can also put the legs on the sides, right, of the bolster. I still love this one. This is a very soothing one for a back, to hug a bolster with the legs. Then add a sandbag to the outer thigh. So you get to decide. If this feels good and you're like, I've always done the leg crossover, but my hip is cranky, maybe you hug the bolster with the thighs. Okay? So sand could be on the outer left thigh. Okay, you get to decide what happens with this bolster. Okay, all up to you. Now, if your legs are hugging the bolster, you might move the knees a little bit higher on that right side. Okay, if you're not hugging the bolster and you want more of a stretch, right, this is probably a little more of a flexibility move, right? If the leg is on top of the bolster and the arm is open and the ball is at the back of the pelvis. But stability is important here. So you decide, let the arm be open. Breathe. Shoulders roll back, the left side. Even if you just feel it, try to roll under just a little bit. And then take a snapshot of how this one feels before you move to side two, so you kind of know what you're trying to kind of equalize on the second. You want to feel some equilibrium. Okay, so let the body move out of the shape on the left hip. So you're going to move the ball to the sand. Okay, just kind of notice, okay, how far over do I feel my body move? You don't have to look at it. You can just focus on the feeling. If you know when it feels pretty even, bring the knees to center and then push into your feet, move your hips to the right. And then take your bolster from that first side over to the second on the left side. And then take it slow, left leg bends next to the bolster, right leg swings over on top. Okay. Now sand can go right on the outer right thigh. It's not a competition. So if it feels like this is not right for me, I don't feel enough support, you can put a block under the short end of the bolster like so. The leg will meet the bolster with a little more ease that way. And then the sand and the ball idea, right? It's up to you. Some of us don't use the ball. Some of us don't use the sand, okay? So when I want the sand to my knee, not all of us like that. Some of us want the sand back on that hip again, okay? Could be on the side, could be horizontal, you decide. I would say feel, a little bit of moving the sand around until you feel like, oh, that's comfortable. Even if it feels warmer and it feels comfortable in the muscles, that would be a benefit. Okay, because that weight, right, is also generating heat into the joint. And that's why using the ball to roll the joint, the muscles, or the sandbag to be on them is going to be helpful for mobility and range of motion. And balance, right? If you roll the ball, that helps you with balancing because you're not quite centered when you're rolling on it, but you are working on that frequency into the muscles, so it's kind of neat. Feeling where the chest is open. And where the abdominals get the strength work here. Moving the ball, moving the sand, coming to legs up the wall or legs up on the bolster bench, either one. So if you take that sand off, I would just kind of push it towards the wall. It's going to be where you need it, or even so it can be down on your shins if you have bolster bench. So when you come on up, if you're building the bolster bench, this is how it looks: is you have two blocks under your bolster on top of the blocks, blanket rolled up, legs up, and you can put the sand on your shins. That feels really good. So I would recommend that, especially with all the leg stuff we did. Now, those of us at the wall, we're going to put our bolster right against it, and we're going to move our blanket closer to the bolster. Now, if you're a little cool, number one, have your other blanket nearby to put on your core. Actually, for either one, right? So if you're a bolster bench and you decide you don't want your blanket on your bolster, but on you, have a blanket under your head and a blanket on your core. And then sit to the edge. If you have an eye pillow, grab that. But once you're upside down, it's hard to get your eye pillow. And then as I put the hips up, I kind of roll on the sacrum to get upside down. And my blanket under. Okay, and you can always make that blanket support a little lower because when you're inverted, you can kind of feel that transfer of, the gravitational flow back to the core is fairly clear. Okay, so have a sandbag on the feet. You don't spend too much time sandless if you know you're going to use it, because to get the energy of putting it on there is going to only get lesser and lesser once you're upside down. Okay. So taking any other warmth right on the body or on the eyes. I know, a warm eye pillow. Oh, that sounds good. All right, with the hips grounded and the arms open and goalpost, relax the brain and noticing that awareness in the body can also be a little bit of a brain relaxer, right? Just taking the time, investing the time in this self-care ritual, right, allows you to become embodied and feel. And you probably feel like there was just a little percentage of acknowledgement of the body. Like there's a lot in there. So just acknowledge your efforts to be in practice, that that's enough. And then just receiving your breath. Receive your breath and relax on your out breath. Let the breath sweep the lungs all the way into that back. A lot of your back is lung tissue. I mean, that most of the lung tissue, quite a high percentage, is in the back. It's not your whole back. I don't mean that. But where is the lung tissue? Now you have other respiratory muscles, right? Of course, the ribs, the muscles between them, but feeling where you put pressure into your back and how you breathe. Lengthening the breath on both ends of the inhale and the out breath. Now feel your arms reaching back overhead. You might feel them get as close as they can at the hand parts, right? They can only go so close when they're next to your ears. Okay, and it's not important to bring the arms pushing into your head, but feel the hands reaching towards each other. And then cross the arms over the chest like you're giving yourself a big bear hug. And then change the crossing. Bear hug 2. Now relax the grips, bring your knees to bending. If you have sand on the base of the body, start to remove that. If you're on your bolster bench, give yourself time before you have to get the sand off your shins. No requirement yet, but feel as the back of the pelvis centers, and then gradually you bring your knees towards the chest. Sand-free legs and feet. Okay, hug them in. If you happen to have a blanket on the core, it's a nice little massage into the belly organs, just the knees in, a little hollow right at the top of the thigh. Deep breath. And then just roll to the side. Let your hands help push you to hip, so you can feel the side of the hip, and then use your hips to move up on the bolster. But it's all helpful, right? Your hips moving, your feet, your arms helping you out. And as you find that balance of brain above heart, okay, and just feel it for the mechanics, right? Feel how the neck moves, Chin moves up, the brain tilts back, the frontal lobes kind of shift into right the forehead, and then bring your hands to meet at